before we dive in, can I go to the bathroom?
Yes, only if you leave that in.
Leaving it in.
We'll be right back. I think so. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. That is true. What is going on with your apartment? Can you stop destroying your apartment for like 5 seconds? Please? God.
I have nobody to impress with my apartment. Or with my living situation or my general being.
All right.
I'm going to leave that in and use it as the cold open. I have nobody.
You are nobody.
Fuck you, dude.
Hitting the record button right now. I'm recording. My voice sounds so good. So good.
I hate this already.
And 5, and 7, and 13, and 69, and 12, and 3, 2, 1.
420. Welcome back to the Packy Run podcast. My name is AJ Lagambina.
And I am Dan Mayotte. Welcome.
And we're happy to have you back here. We are the Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski of podcasting. We're happy that you're with us.
Yeah. Speaking of those two guys, I guess, the Super Bowl.
That was a thing.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about maybe some off-season things, some rumors that have been swirling around in the NFL that we have been paying close attention to, especially since the Patriots are in the hunt for a quarterback these days.
It reminds me of the hunt.
And we're going to also talk about some albums, artists that we have gotten into or rediscovered this quarantine or since everything has happened.
But we would be remiss if we didn't start the podcast the way that we usually start the podcast. Let's talk about what we're drinking tonight.
Want to start it off? Because we don't have any beer. We can't. You gotta edit in that beer noise crack because I don't have a beer and you already cracked open your beer.
I cracked open my beer and it's a bottle, so we don't get that nice little
satisfying.
That can crack.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a Sam Adams Alpine lager. It's listed as brisk and smooth. It's an unfiltered lager, kind of citrusy, I guess. It's pretty decent. It's kind of middle of the road, to be honest. I mean, there's nothing that really sets it apart from anything else, but it's pretty good. And I got that as part of Sam Adams, their game day pack or whatever they call it, that I picked up for the Super Bowl. Because what else do you drink when you're watching football?
I mean, I was drinking cocktails the whole time.
I'm sure that went lovely for you.
Dude, you know what it went extremely well because here's why. Me and Justine made so much food, like the alcohol never registered. Also, I had to be up the next morning for work at like 8 o'clock.
See, I copped out as far as Super Bowl food goes. I ordered Chipotle, and my cousin Ryan recently got married up in Rochester, New York, back in October, November, and I attended the wedding virtually, which is ridiculous, but they still sent us like party favors, and the party favors for those of us that attended virtually was hot sauce. So I've been using their green tomatillo hot sauce every time I order burritos, and it's so good. And I'm between my love of hot ones and this hot sauce that I got, I'm slowly becoming a spice lord.
Dude, if you ever get the chance, get the Hot Ones hot sauce. I got 2 of them. I had like the first tier one, like the first one that they eat, and then the Calientes. Both really solid choices.
I thought for a second that you were gonna say that you got the last dab, and I was gonna be like, dude, how do you survive that?
No, I mean maybe someday, but I have not gotten to that extent. And also with Rochester, I am surprised their party favors weren't a recipe for like the garbage plate or something like that, because that's the only
man.
that I mean, no offense to Rochester, but that's the only thing you're relevant for. And maybe I'm wrong.
Rochester's where Narragansett is made. The Narragansett Brewery moved from Narragansett, Rhode Island to Rochester.
But they're not.
And also
from
Genesee.
there. They're not. I mean, Genesee, yeah, but like Narragansett.
It's not doing them any favors. Genesee is not doing them any favors.
I think Genesee is great.
Genesee Cream Ale. We had some fantastic nights drinking 30 racks of that.
Oh man.
Oh man. So what are you drinking?
Well, I am drinking some vodka in this wild berry punch. So it's kind of tastes like jungle juice.
To be honest, the first thought that came in my mind when you said vodka was that you were drinking it with like Gatorade or something.
Oh, I mean, that's like the typical freshman like college move. Like
my mind immediately went to work on ways to roast you, but I'm glad to hear that it's not that.
I mean, it's something equally as terrible. It's like a terrible sugary juice.
Yeah, but that's what vodka needs, really.
I mean, true. I mean, it does need something like fruity or like ginger beer.
Aggressively sugary. Yeah, ginger beer. That works too.
Like a nice Moscow Mule.
Somewhere in Massachusetts, Josh Lutz just like stood up from his chair. Did someone say Moscow Mules? Who said Moscow Mules? I'll go get the ginger beer.
And like the bitters or something, like he takes one bartending course in college.
We, for the listeners at home that don't know, we've talked ad nauseum on this podcast about the house we lived in Derby, Connecticut. It was small. We called it a hobbit house. There wasn't enough room for really anything, much less 5 people living there. But somehow, so much of our kitchen was taken up from bartending materials that Joshua Lutz owned.
I mean, he left half the stuff there, and like I got all of it when he moved out.
I don't think we ever like finished any of those things though, because I don't think anybody that was living there was. None of us were real big on mixed drinks and stuff. It was a beer household.
That is true. That is very true.
We had a whole separate fridge above our stairs, literally above our stairs for beer.
That was sick. Now, normally I wouldn't have vodka. I wouldn't have hard liquor in this house or in my apartment, but I was making vodka sauce for the Super Bowl.
Was it you or somebody else that made vegan cauliflower bites?
Justine did.
Yeah, with buffalo sauce on them.
Oh yeah. I mean, we had a whole
That stuff's
spread.
so good.
I had vodka sauced pizza that I like fermented for like a day and a half. It was nice and bubbly.
And I ordered out.
I had cauliflower wings. Justine also made cake pops, and we had nachos as well.
I mean, you have the advantage of living with your significant other and like being able to do all that kind of stuff. I sat here alone and watched the game, so like I'll order a burrito and that's fine, I guess.
I remember like one of the years in not freshman, but I think sophomore year, I ordered like $20 worth of WoW and sat there and ate it by myself and watched the Super Bowl.
$20 worth of WoW that's a lot of WoW.
For those of you at home, WoW was like this restaurant on UNH campus, and it just was just burgers and like chicken tenders and like that kind of thing. So I ordered that much of it, and it's all reasonably cheap. So $20 was a lot for one person.
Yeah, $20 was a lot of food there.
But you don't care about me pigging out and hating myself. You want to hear about us talking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so let's start off by going over some of our predictions that we made last week, because we didn't do great.
Yes. So to start off with, my score predictor was 24-21 Kansas City, and yours was like 28-24?
28-24 Kansas City.
I wouldn't expect 31-9, but honestly, for a little bit there, we were looking at a pretty close game, especially when Tampa was stopped at the 1-yard line.
Yeah.
Like
and
that,
I'd say
like that could have been a significant play to turn momentum there, but nothing materialized out of it.
And I mean, for 3 straight quarters, it was edge of your seat kind of game, because we've seen so many times the Chiefs be down by double digits and pull something out of their ass.
Right.
So going into the fourth quarter, I don't think anybody that knows football was particularly comfortable Bowl if they were rooting for Tampa Bay. But pretty soon into the fourth quarter, it became it became very apparent that this game was just going to be lopsided the entire time.
Right. Which is quite a shame. I mean, the story of the game, like a lot of people want to pin this on Mahomes not showing up. The story was
Mahomes not showing up?
What? I mean, that's what
If you think
that's what the big guys are saying.
Which is just another example of them giving meaningless hot takes. Did you watch the game? Some of the throws that he was making, and like that was a vintage Patrick Mahomes performance.
Yeah, I mean, the story of the game was there are two starting tackles missing. Eric Fisher was injured the last game, torn Achilles. He might not ever play again. I mean, a torn Achilles is a very tough injury to come back from.
Yep.
And then you had on the other side Mitchell Schwartz, who he's considered an all-pro lineman, one of the best like offensive linemen in the league, and they just couldn't protect him back there. They just kept getting after him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good your quarterback can scramble if your offensive line is terrible. Like the reason why Patrick Mahomes has been Patrick Mahomes instead of, Lamar Jackson is that his line and his receivers always seem to be able to be making plays. And the fact that nobody outside of Travis Kelce was really able to put something together in this game is not Patrick Mahomes' fault. That vertical toss that he made, or horizontal toss rather, and so many of the other things that he was doing while he was playing injured, like that was vintage Patrick Mahomes. That's everything that you would expect out of the guy.
Right.
But, his offensive line was terrible, so he wasn't scrambling when he was supposed to scramble. He was scrambling for his life.
Also on an injured foot on top of that.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay's defense was just better. I mean, they had their number.
Yeah. A great video to watch. And if you were watching very closely to the offensive line in that game, a pretty big YouTuber, Brett Coleman, he did a video breakdown. This was like about a month ago on some of the Chiefs' concerns. And one of the things that Patrick Mahomes tends to do is he drops back 10 to 15 more yards than he has to try to make that incredible throw. You saw that over and over and over again, and because of that, the pocket just kept collapsing onto him. He couldn't break out of that. He tried to wait for his receivers, and usually when he does that, a wide receiver gets open, but the Buccaneers defense did a great job. Like their secondary were able to lock down Tyreek Hill and Hardman and Kelce for a good portion of the game up until like the second half, where he had ended up with like 11 catches or something like that.
And I think that was part of the Chiefs' halftime adjustment, was realizing that, okay, if we can get Kelce to run his route, right through the center of the field,
yeah,
and get some of those dink and dunk passes, we can get some extra yards. But again, without an offensive line to protect Mahomes, and with Tampa Bay constantly double teaming Tyreek Hill and any other explosive player, the Chiefs didn't really have a chance, which is a weird. It's easy to say that in hindsight. I mean, they had an incredible year. They've had an incredible past couple of years. But I think now with the hindsight, looking at the way that this game played out, this is going to, especially with going forward with the Chiefs, cap space shrinking and the way that all of that's going to trade out in off seasons and things like that, this could be a little bit of a warning shot for Kansas City if they want to go and get themselves another Super Bowl.
Well, I'm not too concerned about that right now. The thing is, this is the blueprint on how to stop the Chiefs. I mean, even Bill Belichick hasn't been able to solve that riddle yet. Like Todd Bowles did a great job game planning around how do we stop this guy? Okay, we got to lock down his receivers and keep making him go further and further down. Like make him go 10 yards, like 10-yard like drops.
Which is what I'm saying. This is going to be game film that I think everybody, especially in the AFC, is going to be watching and going, oh, okay, this is how you do this.
Right. And
because
I
think
the Patriots are fully capable of doing doing that kind of thing with our secondary, with our we have a good secondary. So like we could lock down those wide receivers and those weapons. But the only problem with the Patriots, no pass rush.
So far, yep. But apparently Belichick and some of the other people on the Patriots coaching staff have reported up to 2 weeks early to get a head start on this offseason. So
that sounds about right. Honestly, I think Tom played a really good game, and this might be a hot take here, and they would have won it without Tom Brady there, maybe. Without him throwing the ball. They would have won it with his leadership, because he was able to galvanize and teach them how to win. That's why they won. Not because of his skill.
Agree with. That I'll agree with. Tom Brady, the additional coach, is the reason why the Buccaneers won that game. Tom Brady, the athlete, he played a great game. I mean, that's going to go down as one of his best games, obviously being the Super Bowl.
Right.
But as far as some of the things that we've seen as Patriots fans for the past 20 years, it wasn't anything particularly special.
Yeah,
it was just, it's the fact that he was able to take that organization, which was kind of known as, it's the Buccaneers, Bruce Arians is there to have fun, and they're the Tampa Bay team. And the fact that Tom Brady came down there and all of a sudden they turned around and became a machine, especially in the back half of this season, that is Tom Brady.
Yeah, and I mean, Tom was efficient, 21 for 29, 3 touchdowns. He only took 1 sack. Like, this was the least amount of pressure.
Oh, I should have said, goddamn.
The least amount of pressure he has dealt with in a Super Bowl.
Somebody tweeted, I believe it was earlier today, they said after Super Bowl 55, if you take Tom Brady's NFL career as a starter and split it in half, he has the exact same percentages for, I forget if it was a couple of different things. I think it was like passer rating, pressures, like there were 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
But if you split his career from the beginning to the midway point and then the midway point to Super Bowl 55, his stats are the exact same.
The ageless
I
wonder.
wish I had saved the tweet so that we could put it out there, but oh man.
The ageless wonder. I saw one that was like Tom Brady has a more likely chance to make it to the Super Bowl than Steph Curry making a 3.
I do have to say, and anybody that follows me on Instagram probably saw my little Instagram story after Tampa Bay won, wearing my Tom Brady jersey with the Super Bowl 53 patch and everything.
Yeah.
The throwback Reds for those of you diehard Patriot fans, which hopefully this season or next season, whenever they change the helmet rules, oh man, I want to see that team in the throwbacks again. I think I said it on the previous podcasts. We predicted the Chiefs winning because the Chiefs have just had this uncanny ability to just pull it out every time.
Right.
With very few exceptions. I think, didn't they win like their past 25 games or something ridiculous?
Something crazy.
Yeah. Or they were like 25-1 in their past 26 games before the Super Bowl. It was some insane stat. So you'd be an idiot if you weren't kind of thinking that the Chiefs were going to do this. But they didn't, and I'm happy for Tom.
And I mean, it's all about momentum. I mean, they were sitting at 7-5 after the Kansas City game, and Tom kind of drove that ship. And in life or any sports, like we've seen, like hockey's a great example of this. We always see it with hockey, like a team coming back from a 3-0 deficit, or we've seen it with baseball too. They come back and then they just sweep the whole thing and go straight to the Stanley Cup and win it, or World Series or whatever.
Yep, we saw it with the Dodgers in baseball. That's a great example.
Yeah.
And again, they got kind of their keystone with Mookie Betts.
Well, they had other pieces there. They were.
Yeah, but the cherry on top for them, I think this past season was like, oh yeah, we have Mookie. Here we go.
That is true.
I think it might be early to say this, and we'll finish up with the rest of our kind of analysis of our predictions in just a second. But I do want to say, to your point, so far in this abbreviated NHL season, it kind of looks like the Bruins are going to go do that this year. They are younger, they are hungry, and like a couple of the games that we've seen this season, like they are truly finishing some of these games, not just the games where, they come from behind and then they kind of go or whatever. I'm excited about the Bruins this season, and I'm sure we'll get more into that as the weeks go on.
Sure.
Especially with your love of, what are you? I keep forgetting. Are you Islanders or Rangers?
Islanders, not New York Rangers.
Are you Long Island?
Anyways.
So, what other predictions did we have about the Super Bowl that we need to admit that we were wrong about?
Let me see. We thought that there were going to be guest stars at the halftime show, and we were pretty wrong about that.
That is true. I think to the public's detriment, kind of.
I mean, it's probably best that there wasn't a guest star. I mean, although I like the weekend was for what it was. I thought it was good, but I was watching some past Super Bowl performances, and I was just like, nah, this ain't it. It's not the best, but it's certainly better than some of them that I've seen.
And I will say it looked, there were a couple of times where you kind of had to think about it, but one of the things that I look at as far as halftime performances is, are they actually singing?
He was.
Yeah, for like four straight years leading up to this past performance. It was like, no.
Right.
Like, you're lip syncing, there's a backing track, there's so much of this other stuff. And there were definitely backing tracks there, to the point where there were a couple of times where I was like, is this really you? But for the most part, no, the weekend was a live performance. One thing I didn't know, and I haven't actually verified this, but I saw a couple of different tweets and things on Facebook about it. Apparently he self-financed the halftime show.
I heard about that. I also heard he essentially, and don't quote me on this, he essentially put out a Craigslist ad saying like, hey, you want to be in this Super Bowl performance, show up at this time and like get a COVID test, and like we'll incorporate like a mask with you, like your costume and everything, and like dance in like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was, as far as like pomp and circumstance goes, it left a lot to be desired. So I get that there were a lot of people that had their hot takes on social media about like, this isn't whatever, like name a Super Bowl halftime performer or whatever. But
I'll give it a pass.
It definitely gets a passing grade. I'd give it like a B plus.
Yeah.
On a grading scale, because one, if it was self-financed, that's pretty sick. Like if he just sat there and put down his own money to be like, I want this to be my own vision, and that was his vision, who am I to judge, man? Like if that's one of the biggest stages that you could ever have in the world, go for it.
Yeah. The biggest concert of the year, literally.
But like it was very, as underwhelming as it was for I think a lot of people, and kind of myself included, because I'm not the biggest fan of The Weeknd. I just find him really interesting and I really like his hits. I do think it kind of hits a little bit of a reset for the Super Bowl halftime show. Right. It was a very back to basics, like I'm just here, I'm going to sing my hits, I'm going to do it with my kind of vision and everything else. Mm-hmm. And that does, like, one, that's respectable in its own right, but then it also opens up the door for subsequent halftime performers to kind of blow it out of the water and do something, the next big thing.
Right. And I mean, we've had some big performances in the past decade. I mean, I'm thinking back to like Lady Gaga, for example. That was like a huge performance, a huge elaborate thing. I was watching that one recently. I'm trying to think of other ones. I remember Katy Perry's being pretty extravagant as well. Her riding that tiger.
Yeah, and the Jennifer Lopez Shakira one I think was huge, and a really, the year of all the controversy around Kaepernick, they went with Maroon 5, which is just the absolute safest thing you could possibly do. And the next year to have two Latinas up there and waving the Puerto Rican flag, and
I was watching the Maroon 5 one yesterday, and Adam Levine just the whole time looks like he doesn't want to be there. Rewatch it and tell me if I'm not wrong. And the crowd looks the Super Bowl halftime show is about the hits, but it's also about the performance. I want to be thoroughly entertained. I don't care so much about the music. I care about the performance and entertainment value of it.
And even as somebody that like pays attention to the engineering side of those kind of things, like I would really like to see live performances, not just backing tracks and everything else. Like look at when Bruno Mars headlined and he had Red Hot Chili Peppers come out.
And he started it off with that drum solo.
Yeah.
Like,
but
that
also
was
like
sick.
Red Hot Chili Peppers was not playing their instruments. They were completely backtracked.
That is true.
There was no part of that was live, but they had fun with it. Like they were
entertaining.
They were entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was part of the issue with the Maroon 5 one was that, yeah, I completely agree with you. You watch it and you're just like, those guys know that they were like, they were in like the 30s on the list of major artists
Like
to ask before Maroon 5 got asked and
the
accepted.
most awkward moment of that performance was Adam Levine just standing there with the guitar while Travis Scott is rapping. Yeah, that was a good moment in that. And also the start of the halftime show with SpongeBob with the Paramount commercial.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really good. The commercials the commercials this year were actually really good, in my opinion.
I was okay with most of the commercials. I don't think any of them had like big, pomp and circumstance kind of moments. But I said I was gonna be real big. I was gonna be big mad if Budweiser brought out the Clydesdales, and instead Sam Adams brought out the Clydesdales and kind of made a joke about them.
That was great. That was great.
I was okay with that.
I love the 5-second commercial from Wall Street Bets on Reddit. I think that was fantastic.
That's a funny one. Yep.
Because I think a lot of us were in on it, like the Wall Street Bets, and thinking this is awesome. And then them being like, yeah, we're going to do a Super Bowl show. Like, let's all contribute. And I didn't think it was going to happen, but it ended up happening. And wow.
Yeah, the commercials were, I think Super Bowl commercials, Super Bowl commercials peaked probably 8 or 9 years ago. So I think we get like 4 or 5 gems every year now that are like just, they totally knocked it out of the park. And then after that, they're Super Bowl commercials. They're always kind of extravagant, but they're never great.
I loved
Super Bowl commercials were passable.
I loved the Shaggy commercial with like Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. That was really good.
Yeah, I was okay with that one. The Sam Adams Clydesdale one just knocked me out of the park because I remember watching it when it was airing and I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
That was funny.
I called it on the podcast. I'm going to roast them for it. And then it was your cousin from Boston. It's like I just had a shit-eating grin the entire time that one was on.
That was good.
And Doritos, the 3D Doritos are back for any of you that remember that from your childhood.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This time with probably like 80% less chemicals, I guess. I hope.
I doubt it.
Probably not.
Who even knows?
Crispix with Dorito dust. I think that's actually probably $1 million idea, but still.
The Super Bowl as a whole, I mean, the commercials were good. I think the commercials were more entertaining than the game. I was kind of let down by the whole experience of the game, but
I think I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
I'm going to 70% disagree with you on that. I don't think the game was a letdown. I think the result was a letdown. Because like I said, that up until probably 5-10 minutes into the fourth quarter, it could have very easily turned just based on the way that Kansas City has performed historically.
To me, the game was kind of over when Tyree Matthew got that personal penalty call on him. He couldn't keep his emotion in check, and I think that kind of spiraled into a lot of other things.
Yeah, and I want to save a little bit more about that for maybe next episode if anything else comes out, because it looks like between the mic'd up moments and everything else, we might get a little bit more context on that, but I don't disagree with you on that. I think Tyrann Mathieu, he kind of screwed the pooch, and I think he kind of screwed the pooch. My mom actually made a great point earlier today about the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There were a lot of former Patriots that got targeted throughout this game and that got big plays during this game, and the two biggest examples obviously are Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski. So So, it seems like the past probably 4 or 5 Super Bowls that he's played in, Tom Brady has been on revenge tours.
Antonio
And I'm not sure that
Brown.
I'm not sure it was that intentional, but I do, that is a narrative that I think we're going to be hearing about a lot this postseason, that Brady went for the former Patriots a lot.
Yeah. Antonio Brown has a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah. Not okay with that.
Yeah, we're not going to get into all the things that he has done wrong, but he has a lengthy list. Definitely look it up if you have a chance. Not a good guy, not a good person. I don't root for him, and I don't support him.
I don't like that guy.
And same thing with Tyreek Hill too.
Yeah, not big on those guys.
Not big, good people. Yeah, I think that's all I have to add for the Super Bowl for this week at least.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I found the game highly entertaining. I think the result was lackluster. I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
but I mean, what are you gonna do? The Chiefs were just irreparably banged up, and Tampa Bay had their number. And like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of teams this coming season that are going to take a good hard look at the game film from this Super Bowl. And I think the story of the baby goat might have just got a little bit tougher.
Well,
after this past Sunday,
somebody was already saying like you can't put him in the GOAT conversation anymore. And I mean, like, yeah, it was a little too soon to begin with, but like
too soon to begin with.
Patrick Mahomes is going to be back.
Oh, absolutely.
He will be back.
He's going to be back. He's going to be back one of two ways. Either the Chiefs are really going to use this time and, reload and do what the Patriots did for, I won't say 20 years. The back half of the Patriots dynasty is really where we kind of saw this. The last 8-ish years of the Patriots dynasty, we saw a lot of true like reloading and some decent shifts in personnel and stuff. It's either going to be that, or I think it's too early to say, but I would like it to be kind of a more likely scenario. I think Kansas City at some point wisens up to the fact that they can't pay the kid the way that they have just committed to pay the kid. And
I mean, from what I heard about,
I wouldn't be shocked.
From what I heard about the contract, it is structured around to try to make the team as flexible as possible. Now, whatever that means. And
yeah,
we don't know what's going to happen next year, 2 years, even 10 years down the line. I mean, I said it before and I'll say it again, like every time a quarterback has signed a 10-year contract, they've never finished it out. Donovan McNabb never finished his. Drew Bledsoe signed for a bunch of 10 years with the Patriots. He got injured the next season, and now we're talking about a guy named Tom Brady.
Yeah,
and then there were a bunch of other ones.
I wouldn't be shocked to see him in another uniform within the reasonably distant future.
I don't think so, but let's get into rumors. The rumor mill
has been churning.
So Carson Wentz, quarterback from the Philadelphia Eagles, looks like he wants out. And good news for us, Patriots are not interested.
Thank God.
But there are reports saying like they're going to take a look at him. They're going to take a look at everyone.
They're going to take a look at everybody. I think. I don't want him, just based on, again, not being a Philadelphia Eagles fans. I don't think we know the full story. I don't think we know all of the intricacies there, but I'm not interested.
Well, the reason why the Patriots are reported to not wanting him is because he has serious like attitude concerns.
Precisely.
And him not gelling well with Bill Belichick, which, I mean, he doesn't deal with people who are bigger than the team.
Yeah, I don't have a bunch to say about Carson Wentz. Just, he's always, whenever he's hot, he seems a little bit full of himself, and everybody, especially in the national media, builds him up. And then, he can't seem to gel with the teammates, or something's wrong with the coach or something. There's always a laundry list of reasons why Carson's not doing well. And next thing you know, the Eagles are back to being a joke again. Hard pass. I'm good.
Hard pass on him. A major rumor with the Patriots is Marcus Mariota, former Tennessee Titans quarterback. signed with the Las Vegas Raiders last year for like 22 million. So this year he would be making around 10 or so million. Reason the Raiders are looking to get away from him is because they're looking a little financially scrapped at this point. And they just re-signed another backup quarterback, Nathan Peterman, who Nathan Peterman might have had the worst game of any starting quarterback of all time. Go look up those highlights. Those are hilarious. He threw like 5 picks in the first half. But that's the Raiders' problem.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything statistic wise or any, I don't have any concrete reason to say no to Mariota, but he's a former Tennessee Titan, and I just despise the flaming thumbtacks. And the few times that I've watched Mariota actually play games, even now, the dude looks like a child. I'll pass.
I'm looking at his statistics right now. He had one good season where 3,400 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, QBR of 95.6, which is okay. Completion percentage around 61%. I'd like to see that a little bit higher. Brady's usually around like the 65 range. And averaging around 8 yards per attempt. So he doesn't get the ball deep down the field. He would be great on those short distance throws, and he's mobile, but...
Kind of.
He's elusive. He has more illusion than Cam Newton at this point, I would say.
That is probably fair, but Mariota's elusiveness also, if I'm remembering correctly, that elusiveness also resulted in more than a few injuries.
Yeah, he's damaged goods. He's damaged goods, but the Patriots could look at him the same way the Tennessee Titans recently looked at Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill for a while was damaged goods. No one thought he would be a starting quarterback again. A recreation project for the Patriots. But do we really want that kind of project? That's the question to be answered.
That's kind of the difficult part here. Do we want that kind of project? I think probably yes.
Yeah, Cam Newton was supposed to be that, and he didn't work out. And
I'm still not giving up the ghost on Cam. I'd really love to see another 1-year contract, and maybe through the draft or maybe through some trades or something. If something could break our way in this offseason where we could get Cam plus somebody else,
right?
I wouldn't be mad at that, because I still think that we never, just personnel wise, what did Cam actually have to work with? Not a lot. And after a COVID diagnosis, which again, we talked about this on a previous episode, I'm already an idiot, and my mind was gone for like a month and a half, almost 2 months. Can you imagine trying to run an NFL offense with that kind of deal? I can't. I don't think we saw everything out of Cam Newton that we really could have seen. I just don't know enough about what this offseason looks like yet to say definitively that I want him back. But
I'm okay moving away from Cam, but I'm also very unsure about Marcus Mariota in the sense of so a lot of people are saying they don't want to give up a lot. They don't want to give up picks. Marcus Mariota would be third rounder, fourth rounder, maybe. If you want if you want an option that is not going to cost you a lot, that's who you're looking at. You're not going to get Derek Carr or Matthew Stafford, who's already been traded, or Carson Wentz for anything less than a couple first round picks. Just the reality of it.
Yeah. And that brings up the topic of Jimmy Garoppolo, which is still an unknown factor as a whole.
That's a hot button issue with Patriots fans. Jimmy Garoppolo.
I'm of two minds,
right?
Because on the one hand, you have and potentially the stronger hand, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, the starting quarterback, who has a frankly dog shit starting percentage, and yes, he got the 49ers to the Super Bowl one year, but
carried by that defense,
very much so. And on either end of that, the season before or the season after, he just seems to have a little bit of a glass jaw. He's always injury prone. He's not great in that respect. And then the other mind is saying there could still still be something to somebody that understands, you know, the culture of the Patriots locker room, who's worked with Belichick before, who's a product of Belichick, that could kind of, to your point when we were talking about Mariota, you know, I think everybody across the league kind of looks at Jimmy Garoppolo as a little bit of like, if you're going to take him, you're taking on like a restoration project.
Yeah.
And who better to restore him than the people that brought him in?
That is true.
That's difficult. I don't love the idea. I would love the idea if there was any indication that it would be a Cinderella story. If there were any kind of indication, and I think the Patriots, you know, taking him on would be the indication. But if there were any indication that this kid was going to come back to New England and be what, you know, people thought he was going to be, then I'll be the first guy to buy a jersey. But I don't have any evidence to show me, you know?
My argument against Jimmy Garoppolo is, when has a retread worked again? When has someone coming back actually worked? And you are looking at me like you're going to disagree with me.
Yep, I'm going to argue with that right off the bat.
Well, what's your argument?
Retread what?
Like,
he started for the Patriots twice.
But what did he prove? What did he prove?
He didn't prove much, but that's not the question. Retread what? He wasn't a starter for New England, and he was under the greatest quarterback of all time.
That's
of course
fair.
He wasn't going to get starts there. And then when he did get starts, and when he had a season that he was healthy and he was doing things, you know, I know this carries a lot of weight when we talk about the NFL, but he was a game manager in the best sense of the term. He has talent. Like I said, he's got a glass jaw.
Right.
I could, if Belichick and the rest of the front office is confident in bringing him back to New England, especially with how quote unquote aggressive they're going to be this offseason, okay, you know, it's better than, you know, I would take Jimmy Garoppolo coming back better than I took the news of Cam Newton coming to the Patriots.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think he's proven anything, to me at least. And I know that doesn't say much. I'm just some podcaster sitting in his room right now. But I don't see what's so great about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I'm not pulling for him.
Right.
Like,
and I wasn't accusing you.
Not,
no, I wasn't saying that. Yeah, I'm just saying
I'm
as a whole.
I'm pretty much in the same boat as you.
Like
I'm in the same boat as you. My oar is paddling a little bit of a different way.
Fair enough. There are some other quarterback rumors that have come out in the past week as well. This one came out, I think, yesterday or like earlier today. Russell Wilson may be looking for a trade as well.
Oh, good God. How fantastic. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if some sort of witchcraft happened where he ended up in a New England Patriots jersey?
That would be...
I'd be fully on board for that, actually.
I would be in full support of that. 100%. I wouldn't be in more support of that than Deshaun Watson. Like, Deshaun Watson is the prize.
Deshaun Watson is the prize.
Everyone
think the
wants.
next tier below. I think the next tier below that could be Aaron Rodgers. Maybe. I think if we had to put them in order, it would be like Deshaun Watson's like God tier.
Yeah.
Right below that would be Aaron Rodgers, and right below that, and the only reason he's below that is because it's so unlikely. Like Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. I would lose my mind.
Like,
any of those three.
I would doubt Russell Wilson moves, but he wants to be more involved with the Seattle Seahawks roster moves and roster construction, which, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, he is your franchise guy. I would put Russell Wilson ahead of Aaron Rodgers only because of age.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Maybe.
Like, I think Russell has 6 more years. Aaron Rodgers has 2 more years. And you're looking at me like you disagree.
No, I'm just thinking let Russ and Dame get in the kitchen and cook, represented by the law offices of Jacoby and Myers.
Oh my God.
Oh man. If ever there was a move that could make the NFL terrified of the Patriots again, that would be the one.
I would doubt Russell Wilson gets moved at all. And
yeah, I don't think it's likely, but man, the brief moment I just had of thinking about that.
We can dream. We can dream. There was also a Twitter rumor floating around about Andrew Luck maybe coming back to the Indianapolis Colts. This one,
Gosh darn, how great would that be?
what?
That's Andrew Luck's been like characterized on those Gridiron Heights cartoons as just like, oh shucks, I'm just so happy to be here.
Well, have you ever seen his like mic'd up moments?
Yeah.
Like someone will literally
Great tackle, man.
someone will take a huge shot at him, like tackle him right before he throws the ball 40 yards down the field, and he's just like, "Yeah, good head, man." Apparently, it was like a leaked text conversation between a friend of a friend who's best friends with Andrew Luck's wife. So 3 degrees of separation. This one doesn't sound legitimate, but I mean, I'd be for it. I'd love to see Andrew Luck play again. I thought he was a great quarterback to watch, and I wouldn't see him playing with the Patriots.
And I'm not visualizing it.
Yeah. Some things that we are visualizing about the Patriots. Chris Godwin potentially being a Patriot. That one.
Please, God, please.
Also, Allen Robinson is also rumored as well.
Be all right with that. Just give me explosive offensive players. On a more personal note, if Julian Edelman goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm officially mad.
You're gonna switch teams.
If Julian Edelman goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am no longer in Tom Brady's corner. I'm not really in Tom Brady's corner, but if Jules heads down there, I'm done, dude.
Yeah.
I somehow managed to be okay with Gronk.
Well,
I'm okay with that. Tom going down, I'm fine with. If he brings down Julian Edelman, especially after this knee surgery and everything, get out of here.
Edelman should retire, but I mean, I'd like to see him give it another go with the Patriots. I think that would be a great story and a good. I'm just a sucker for good NFL storylines.
Yeah, I'd love to see him come back, and even if he's just a hair better than he was the first half of this season, and then he goes and retires, regardless of the outcome, you're going to the Patriots Hall of Fame automatically, and there's arguments that could be made about you heading to the NFL Hall of Fame. But
no,
I'm not saying he gets in. I'm just saying there's arguments that could be made.
I don't think there's any argument.
Haters gonna hate.
I don't hate Edelman. I just don't think he's worthy of being a Hall of Famer.
He was worthy of being a Hall of Famer the first time he described his first interaction with Belichick in the hot tubs.
Oh, that was so
that right
funny.
There is Hall of Fame material.
That was so funny. If you ever have 5 minutes, watch that on, I think it's on the Patriots YouTube channel.
It is on the Patriots YouTube channel.
Where like Edelman
describes some of his first interactions
with Belichick. It's so funny. All right, we'll get more into the offseason as time goes on, now that the
offseason continues?
Yeah, as the offseason continues. Let's get into music, because we don't only talk about sports, we talk about the music.
It's been a couple of weeks. Let's dive in. Yeah, so I thought to round out the podcast, because we spent the past couple of weeks talking almost exclusively about football, and we're now a decent way into this one, and still just talking about football. We'd get back into some of our. I know there's just. I mean, we gotta go where the news takes us. We gotta go where the conversation takes us. We're usually pretty lightweight about these kind of things, so we go where the conversation dictates. But I thought that it would be good to get back into some music stuff, because I know, especially in the past few months, drives to the grocery store, things like that, I've been trying to listen to a little bit more music, get inspired to finally write my own. He said hesitantly. How do you pronounce that word? Hesitantly. Yeah, I wanted to talk about a couple of we can talk in kind of more broader strokes, just some of the artists that have been really kind of inspiring to us and that have kept us going for the past couple of weeks while we've been dealing with various levels of quarantining and COVID bubbles and everything else. Whether that's new artists that we've discovered or anything else, just what's been in our ear holes lately. So there's the theme. There's what I was thinking in far too many words.
Yes. I'll kick it off. I've been really jamming out to Casey Musgraves as of late.
Fantastic way to start this. Because how great is Casey Musgraves?
You can't say a bad thing about her.
I've been such a fan since I finally decided to take the dive. I think we talked about this a little bit on the episode that we had with Ken. I thought that Casey Musgraves was like discount Taylor Swift when she first kind of came onto the scene, and the way that everybody was talking about her, I was not into it, dude.
Okay.
Just on like a base level, before even listening to it, I was just kind of dismissive about the entire thing. And Golden Hour is one of the best records of the past 10 years.
I would put it in my top 10 favorite records of all time.
Of all time?
Yes.
That's a hot take.
I don't think it's a hot take because it's my top 10 list. You know, like like a top 10 list for yourself personally is to your own taste.
Okay, fair.
Like if I said like I think Golden Hour is one of the top 10 country records of all time, well, that's kind of a hot take.
That's especially a hot take, and you can tell by the fact that the two of us are talking about Casey Musgraves, like, you know that it's not, for lack of a better term, country.
No, I mean it's a indie record with country elements.
Yeah, thematically and with some of the instrumentation and stuff, like, absolutely, it takes a lot of nods from country music, but only just a couple of more nods from country music than something like Pine Grove, which I think is why you and I both enjoy it that much. Like, there's the steel guitars and the everything else, but it's not down home, you know, rebel flag waving country.
Right.
It's country inspired, or it's informed by country, I guess.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like you're kind of painting country with a broad brush there, because there are many different kinds of country in there. Like there's rap country, for example, or there's like the poppier sound to it. Like you can't compare Georgia Florida Line with George Straits, for example. Two different kinds of country there. Both country.
And yet I feel that so many people do. And I think that's kind of the issue, is that country music as a whole, as opposed to many other genres, because there are so many genres that are so dependent on the culture around them, I guess.
Right.
Like there's a lot of genres that rely on the kind of culture that surrounds them, but country is probably one of the worst offenders, where like, just look at Nashville. I mean, every Nashville bar band is playing Sweet Child of Mine and like classic rock hits.
Yeah.
You know, Bon Jovi shit and things that, you know, most of us would think about, you know, oh, that's just rock and roll. Like you're just a cover band playing rock and roll songs. But they're playing it in Nashville, so everybody that's playing those songs and listening to those songs is wearing cowboy hats and big old boots, and they're, you know, a bunch of them are talking like this because we're in the South now. We're south of the Mason-Dixon line. This is pride. This is country pride. And it's like, but so yes, I am, the point being that I'm absolutely painting country with a broad brush, because there's a lot of, you know, subgenres and stuff like that. But that's the same thing as somebody that's like, I like punk rock. Okay, what do you like? Green Day. It's like, okay, what other punk bands do you like?
Like there's skate punk, there's ska punk, there's noise punk, there's new wave punk, there's easy core, which you could put in the pop punk genre. There's mall punk.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Which one? Easy core?
Yes.
Oh, have you been dabbling in the easy core?
More than dabbling, my friend.
Are you telling me right now on this podcast you're going to make an easy core record?
No. Well,
come on.
Never say never. Never say never. Easy core super easy to play on bass. When I inevitably make my way back up to Boston and convince you to give up on all of your life dreams to play guitar with me in some band, you and I will start an easy core band.
Oh my god. Oh.
We'll be called Brunch Table.
Brunch Table.
That's a response I was expecting from you.
I mean, I love easy core. It's a criminally underrated genre of music.
Which I guess,
but it only had a peak of like 2 years.
Yeah, right around 2010, I think. That was it, kind of. But again, we'll get into it. So Casey Musgraves as your first choice. Solid first choice.
And a lot of Casey Musgraves songs are played at the grocery store that I'm working at. So that's pretty sick. Thank God for not stale grocery store music. I get like some pretty good stuff.
That's how I felt working in store. When I was working in a store, there were a bunch of people that I worked with that were very, very into Casey Musgraves. And we used to do golden hour around 5 p.m. because we were working in essentially a basement right around the time that golden hour would usually be. For you photography nerds, we would play Golden Hour by Casey Musgraves, and that was the best music that I would hear at work all day, because when you're working in retail, it can get a little ugly music wise.
That is true. All right, what's your pick?
We've alluded to it long enough. Bands that have been getting me through the past few months of quarantining, etc. I've really fallen back in love with A Day to Remember.
Okay, easy core.
Like, definitely an easy core band. Just really solid band.
Have you heard their new song lately?
I've heard some of their new songs, yeah. They've got one called Everything We Need, which I really love.
That's a good one.
Which is weird because it's easy to write it off as just such a ploy for like radio play and like something that you can play in like a sports stadium and stuff, like acoustic guitar driven. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's not something that I would think that this band would really write, but they kind of pull it off in a way that most other bands, especially from their era, definitely couldn't have.
I mean, like, they're an interesting music industry case study, which I think that would be a really good episode to go do a deep dive on, A Day to Remember.
I fully agree.
So that might be in the future cards.
But they've done this thing that so many of the pop punk and hardcore bands and metalcore bands that were big, especially when A Day to Remember was first coming up, they did a thing that none of those bands were really able to do, which was they broke into the mainstream in the best way. Like, they've gotten radio play, they're played at sports stadiums, like they're a big band. But their biggest songs, by default, I would argue, their biggest songs are the songs that stick exactly to the formula that's worked for them since they first kind of came out. Mm-hmm. You know, breakdowny kind of heavy verses and breakdowns and stuff like that, and then just giant, huge, catchy pop choruses and stuff. But they've matured really well. Like, they went from their first EPs and their first full-length album and stuff, and even to an extent some of the breakthrough album Homesick.
Right.
A lot of that was in the vein of like early Taking Back Sunday, The Stories So Far. You know, you can name 1,000 bands where you're listening to some of that stuff. We did an entire episode on Take This to Your Grave by Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh man, this did not age well. Like, your angry white boy energy is not welcomed here.
The downfall of us all, or Homesick as a collective album, I would say has aged pretty flawlessly.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that set them apart from the rest of them. So like, for those who have heart, the earlier songs, things like that, it was very much in that angry white boy energy kind of range.
Right.
And then Homesick came out, and like all of that, like,
I mean, they had those songs of like angry white boy or like the heavy things, but they also had the songs that kind of softened them up to a broader audience.
Yeah, and Homesick was the album where a lot of that energy was redirected from being like lashing out,
right,
to looking inward and being like, the songs were more about, okay, I'm angry because I feel this angry towards another person, and like that like inner analysis kind of thing, which is, you know, it sounds kind of funny to say when you're talking about that band in particular, because it's easy, I think, to conflate a lot of that with like, oh yeah, this is just, you know, it's just kind of repackaged, or the words or the pronouns have kind of changed and things like that.
Yeah.
But I do think that Homesick has aged so well, one, because of production, I mean, production-wise, Homesick is just top to bottom.
Yeah.
Like for a heavy record, like the heavy parts are crushing with the production, but the rest of the parts and the things that actually like glue the breakdowns with the rest of it like really work well together.
Like, if it means a lot to you, I feel like a lot of bands they probably would have done that, and I think a lot of bands tried to do that kind of thing, kind of copy A Day to Remember's thing on it, like kind of copy Homesick in a way, but even the production on that, like that's a banger of an acoustic, like softer track.
Yeah, and they put that song is a great example of every metalcore band from 2009 on. Like every one of the A Day to Remember contemporaries have tried to do If It Means a Lot to You. I don't listen to any of those songs, but I can still pick up a guitar and play If It Means a Lot to You front to back.
Yeah.
Like I know that song in and out. Like that's a great example of a band kind of transcending what they were originally pigeonholed as. And that 2020 was actually kind of a year of watching that happen to a couple of bands.
Right.
I think we talked earlier on the podcast about All Time Low kind of doing the same thing, where their most recent record, Wake Up Sunshine, it's All Time Low, it's pop punk, it's a guitar-based band, but it's kind of fluffy, I guess you would call it. Mm-hmm. But they wrote a really, really, really great guitar-based pop album.
Right.
And it looks like A Day to Remember is still doing the same thing, where it's just like, hey, we've got really great pop songwriting, but also we know how to write a breakdown and we know how to incorporate those two things really well. And there's still some songs from A Day to Remember's catalog that are just complete misses because that's A Day to Remember.
I mean, but that happens with every band though.
Yeah. And that's why I picked kind of them for this topic, is especially lately it's been listening back to that band and being like, wow, they were like from really early on in their career, they kind of knew what they were doing here.
Right. And I mean, they had a lot of contemporaries that were arguably probably in the same sort of vein, maybe not easycore necessarily, but in the metalcore realm, because for a while A Day to Remember was in that world. Like you look at bands like We Came as Romans or Devils Wears Prada or Sleeping with Sirens. All those bands at one point or another were kind of bigger than A Day to Remember, but their downfall was they put out the same record 3 times in a row. A Day to Remember has always been evolving, and then when these bands decide to evolve, it's too late. Everyone has kind of bless you. Everyone has kind of just passed on from them. No one cares. I haven't heard a single person care about a band like Devils Wears Prada because they haven't evolved.
Well, and that's kind of the interesting like case study there, and we could probably do an entire episode about this. But like that's why I think A Day to Remember is still, when kind of restrictions end and things like that, like they're still going to be going on arena tours where, their biggest contemporary was probably 4 Year Strong.
Yeah.
And then there were also bands like Of Mice and Men, We Came as Romans, Sleeping with Sirens, Pierce the Veil. So many of these other bands didn't pivot the way that A Day to Remember has. And A Day to Remember hasn't pivoted greatly. They do it subtly. What they do.
Yeah.
They do it subtly, exactly. And what they do has been they did what they do the best. And they've got that kind of longevity. But especially the past few months, living at home and being alone and going on, drives at night and stuff like that. Like that band has found a way to take that sound in slightly different directions over and over. I mean, they have a collaboration with Marshmello. They have an EDM track that's not, I think lyrically it absolutely falls short. It's just so repetitive and it's easy to dismiss.
I mean, it makes sense though, because like Marshmello was in that metalcore type of scene for a bit.
Yeah, and that's the point, is that like it would be easy to write it off, but you also listen to it and you're like, oh yeah, this does at the end of the day make sense.
The only band I would put in the same category as A Day to Remember that's from that sort of scene is Bring Me the Horizon. Like they have pivoted and created a great brand. I'm not even a Bring Me the Horizon fan, but it's something to respect the way that they are able to adapt and change their sound throughout the times and be able to be nominated for Grammys multiple times, that's a really cool thing.
And that I agree with. I'm definitely not a Bring Me the Horizon fan. I never really have been like huge on that band, but yeah, I would agree with it. Like there's a reason why of all of those, Warped Tour 2009 alumni, It's a Day to Remember and Bring Me the Horizon, who are the big ones.
Yeah.
But as far as being, quarantined and sitting around and trying to figure out, next steps and things like that, like I was a little bit surprised to be like, oh yeah, like it's kind of incredible how much the A Day to Remember catalog still just holds up, especially from Homesick onward. It's like these guys know how to write songs. This is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. My next artist that I've recently got into her, and I told Justine about this. This artist, Arlo Parks. Not a lot about her. She's a brand new artist, just released a new record that came out late last month, so like 2 weeks ago from this date, and it's great. It is fantastic. It is, if you're looking for a new or indie perspective, I think this is the one. It's different than Phoebe Bridgers and different than the standard white female indie girl. That makes any sense?
Yeah.
Her new album is called Collapsed in Sunbeams. She's been releasing multiple single after single for this record, and it finally came out. And if you like Clairo, and I'm trying to think of like other mainstream pop artists to listen to, I would suggest this record. It's been really cool. She wrote a lot of this in quarantine, and I think a lot of it is related to being isolated. And it's not like Blink-182's song about like quarantine, about how much it sucks. This is like how mentally draining it is and how defeating it has been.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about Arlo Parks. I've seen Hayley Williams posting about her, and
this girl is going to be good. She's great. Fantastic. Check it out.
For sure. Well, I guess I'm going to have to now.
Especially since Hayley talked about it.
Yeah, well, if Hayley talks about it, that's my... she's my guidepost.
And I think...
No, but Hayley Williams she actually just released another album this past Friday, I think.
Really?
Yeah, she did another kind of... The first one wasn't like super quarantined. It was like built up to be, her solo debut, and then COVID happened and all that kind of got thrown out of the window. So this is her first real kind of quarantine album. And I've listened to a couple of songs off it. I haven't actually sat down and digested it, but I love Hayley Williams. I'm still the Petals for Armor, the album that she put out initially. I think I've talked about it before on the podcast. It's kind of like seeing the Mona Lisa or like other like major artworks where you're like, I'm really glad that I've seen the thing, but I don't necessarily need to go see it again. Like, I'm glad that I've gotten to take in all of this, but I'm okay. So I'll be interested to see how this album that she just dropped kind of hits me, and see if there's anything that leaves me with more feelings other than, man, I'd really love another Paramore record. Which is kind of a hot take, and there's been a couple of people that have said that in ways that have left me feeling like, oh man, like you're just here to hate or whatever.
Right. I mean, the internet does that very easily.
Very, very easily. So my second artist that I've been like really, really enjoying while I've been sitting here alone most of the day, Jimmy Eat World.
True.
What a catalog, dude.
They're really good.
I mean, everybody knows Jimmy Eat World for the middle, right? But all of their albums, like everything that they do is incredible. The big like starting off point, I think, for a lot of people is the album that came out before Bleed American, which was Clarity, and that was like, I believe that was their major label debut, and like that's kind of considered a classic by most people that pay attention to this band. And then obviously Bleed American had the middle, and it had so many other great tracks. If you haven't listened to Bleed American, you're missing out. I mean, that is one of my favorite albums of all time. The album after that is called Futures. Futures is just top to bottom. What an album. Futures by Jimmy Eat World is, I don't think it's in my top 5, but it's definitely in my top 10 or 15 albums of all time. Like, I've been doing a little bit of a deep dive on their catalog, and it's the interesting thing about this band is that there aren't a lot of singles that I can point to and be like, oh, this song and this song and this song and this song. With The Day to Remember, I mean, top of the list, and I think top of their Apple Music and Spotify, like most played songs, is is if it means a lot to you.
Right.
Jimmy Eat World, obviously the number one song is The Middle. But after that, I mean, you kind of lose the thread. But it's not about, that's one of the interesting things is that Jimmy Eat World is still one of the biggest quote unquote punk indie bands.
Right.
That's still going, at least in the pre-COVID world. And it's so much less about the songs themselves than it is about the albums. Like sitting down and listening to a Jimmy Eat World album, the songs bleed together, but not in a detrimental way.
Right.
You listen to the album front to back and you're like, oh my God, like what an album, what an experience that I just went on. Jimmy Eat World's incredible. I love that band. And everybody should be listening to more Jimmy Eat World than just The Middle.
I would argue that they are an underappreciated band.
They're absolutely an underappreciated band. I mean, just I struggle because I don't know which way to direct people. If you like The Middle, because I know that you know that song, even if you don't know that it's performed by Jimmy Eat World, then go listen to Bleed American from front to back, and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, like this is rock and roll. Like this is how this is supposed to sound. But like I said, the follow-up album Futures is front to back. I love Futures. I wear a Jimmy Eat World Futures t-shirt frequently. Futures by Jimmy Eat World that's the one. That's the album. Probably when I look back on like quarantining and everything else, it's probably going to be Futures that I think of as far as music for this period of time.
For sure.
Either that or Homesick, because I've been listening to Homesick since I think I had a leak of Homesick by A Day to Remember before it came out.
Ooh,
so I've been listening to that before it came out in 2009. Subtle flex on the rest of you.
That is that is a flex.
But yeah, those are two of the albums. If I had to pick two albums from the quarantine era, weirdly enough, it would be albums that came out years and years and years before COVID. It would be Futures by Jimmy Eat World and Homesick by A Day to Remember. Just so good.
I mean, if we're gonna go that route, and I'm not gonna do a deep dive on this record because I've done plenty of other deep dives on this record beforehand. Jeff Rosenstock's No Dream and
good pick.
And Casey Musgraves, Golden Hour. Those are the two picks for me.
One of the few things that are good about living in Nashville. Casey Musgraves has like an entire section of the Country Music Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. He has like a whole display. That's pretty cool. If you're into museums and stuff like that, and if you're ever in Nashville and looking to kill time, that's the one.
That's pretty sick.
Almost as good as the Shania Twain exhibit that they had when I first moved down here, and I feel no shame about going to see that.
I bet it won't impress me much.
Well, man, I feel like a woman. Oh, that might be the dumbest thing we've ever done on this podcast.
All right. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, that's as good a place as any.
All right. Yes. Let's do recommendations and say goodbye.
I'll let you take the lead. Recommendations for this week.
I mentioned
host, Dan Mayotte.
I mentioned this earlier, but I will encourage you to listen to Arlo Park's new record. I can't express it enough how much this album is really good. So that's my one recommendation this week, and it's kind of a cop-out, but I don't care.
There's no rules at the back you run. It is what it is.
Yes.
My recommendation this week is technology related. There's a company, I think they're pronounced Meross, Meross. I talked about it last week. I've talked about it on social media. I've kind of dipped my toe into the smart home market and gotten back into more of the technological kind of side of things lately. But smart lights and smart home accessories, the ability to control my lights from my phone instead of pulling a pull chain on my overhead lights that always ends up, breaking off and things like that.
Yes.
Meross has really great smart lamps and light bulbs and things like that. They're a fraction of the cost of most of the other, smart home accessories. I know there's a bunch of other companies that are a little bit cheaper than Meross, but also ones that are way, way, way more expensive. I've got 3 lights in my bedroom right now. One light bulb that's on a lamp and a couple of little self-contained lamps that have these LED lights on either side of my room. They light it up really well. I no longer have to deal with overhead lighting that makes me feel weird. I can control it all from my phone or from the HomePod that my parents so graciously gave me for Christmas. Being able to control that kind of stuff is really cool.
Thanks,
able to
Mom and
just
Dad.
call out the shots. Yeah, thanks, Mom and Dad. Being able to call out the shots and say, I won't say the phrases because I know it'll trigger somebody's smart device in their house. But being able to say, hey, blank, do this and have it happen, that feels kind of good.
Yeah.
So I like that kind of thing. If you're ever in the market, it's all available on Amazon. Make sure that it's compatible with Apple's HomeKit. If you have Apple devices, the rest of the devices work no matter what you have for a smart hub in your home. It's cool stuff. Check it out.
Hell yeah. And I think that pretty much wraps up today. Please check us out on Spotify and other podcast service, and and check us out on Instagram and Twitter, PackyRun Pod, and
check us out. Tell all your friends.
Yes,
let them know that you like the show. We're back in it. It's week number 3 in 2021. We're finally doing the thing. It feels good to be back. Leave us feedback at our various social media outlets, and tell your friends. Tell them to check us out. We enjoy doing this.
We'll talk to you guys next week. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.